Welcome back to Notorious Autosports. This week we are back on Project Zero again, and you guys probably won't see this until after Motor City Foxfest, but I am planning on taking this, and there is a couple last steps that I would like to do before it goes down. I do want to kind of show it and give you guys the vibe of how I got the car, minus the metalwork obviously that I've done, and now that it's a roller where it wasn't before. But the roof is dented. I just pulled the roof skin off of my donor car the other day, and I really don't want to have to try and find a way to store a roof skin and keep it fresh and not getting dents. Yeah. So what I'm going to do today is actually go ahead, drill all the spot welds out, melt out the factory lead seam on the roof of this, and swap the skins. And then I'm going to go, before it leaves, spray the inside white again. I probably won't end up doing any work on the seams of the roof skin other than just sealing them up. Primer and maybe a little bit of paint over it just to keep it from getting any moisture in there. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead, peel this all off. I got a little clip of what I went through there the other day, just a quick little snippet, show you guys on how that one came off. And we're gonna get stuck into this one and see how it goes. The only thing with this is I gotta try and save the roof skin, or sorry, I gotta not save the roof skin, but I gotta save the understructure, where on the other one I had to save the roof skin and wasn't concerned with the other understructure. Tongue twisters today. But yeah, I'm gonna go about this one a little bit differently, just because I have to save that bottom edge and try and give myself a nice welding surface. But we're gonna get into that. I've started grinding out the spot welds, or spot weld locations along the seam here, just to expose them a little easier. And I've just got to do across the back here. I did pull all these clips out that hold the trim, which actually still had sandblasting media on them even this many years later. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead, expose all these, and then get into actually grinding at those spot welds as opposed to drilling them. That is at least the hope. All right, so we're gonna go through. I just got a brown fiber die grinder. Just gonna expose each one of these spot welds and make it easier to find them with the actual belt grinder. Digging into these spot welds, couple key tools, obviously a hammer, a spot weld cutter or chisel, and then I'm using this rotary sander. It's got these fine little belts. Basically gonna dig into all these spot welds and then try and cut through them with the chisel and try and leave as much remaining material as I can on the bottom side without digging into it as you would if you're using a spot weld cutter or a drill. Alright, so the back fought me One thing I found is the underlying piece isn't as far out of an overhang as this. So I was kind of focusing more on where the center of the spot weld appeared to be, but it was actually further up into that corner. So once I got digging a little further up there, things started to separate a lot easier. I also found that I wasn't necessarily grinding through quite enough some of those times. Here, not bad. Went pretty quick actually. This is a decent edge that you can get under the one side, start to cut around the radius. Top right side I found I worked. That was kind of my routine. I'd do the top right hand side of the circle and then go in from the left side, break it open, and then kind of cut with the chisel there to get the remaining. Again, trying to dig out most of it. On the front though, I actually went further in than I had with any of the other areas, and I feel like that's going to separate really, really well. So just kind of learning the tool. I'd never used one of those little belt sanders before, and I've never had to try and remove spot welds so much with needing to worry about the piece of metal underneath it. Back in the trunk here was already drilled out, so I knew I had to fill those holes with weld, so I just didn't drill any spot weld holes in my frame rail. Things like that. One thing I am finding, if you look in the car, look at all that blasting media from multiple years ago. That was all trapped up in this edge of the roof, and when I started to disturb it, it just started raining down. So I'm glad I got that out. If it was trapped up there really well, it probably wouldn't be a major problem in painting, because if it's not falling out, you're not gonna actually disturb it. Well, spraying paint, I've had an air blower in there multiple times, and that's about as much as I got. Clearly not all of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and separate this front edge, and then I have to actually melt the lead seam out here. There'll probably be 2 or 3 spot welds behind the lead here, and a couple stitch welds as well. Might leave that until tomorrow. It's been a really warm one today. I'm feeling it, so I'm gonna try and split that front edge, and then we'll see. Might be dinner time. Wow, that was a lot quicker. Just took a little more time on the first step, and the second step went a lot quicker, cutting that last little bit of the spot weld out. One of the things that kind of made it harder on the back seam was just trying to lean over and not having a good angle with the hammer or the chisel, and I eventually ended up just standing in the trunk. I was trying to keep the inside kind of clean because I had basically prepped it for paint for the most part, but that's, well, look at the inside now. It didn't matter much more, so I decided to just climb in there. You get good working angle, you can be a lot more efficient that way. And same thing with the front here, just standing on the floor, and you're able to get at it from all angles, and it comes apart way easier. So the hard part of separating this one is done, but that's still the easy part of the job, because now I have to pull the skin off, prep all the metal underneath, address any little bits of surface rust because this is an overlap weld, and then go ahead, put the new one on, weld it all in, and try and get that done the next day or two. So see about melting some lead out, try one side, see how far I get. I'll show you guys what I'm doing. Okay, here we go, melting some lead out. So seam goes right across through here. You can see the tail end of the roof pan there, and then inside behind the quarter window there. So it's going to go somewhere along here. Some general PPE, pretty good idea. Some gloves, respirator. Lead's not really nice. I don't have much of a cross breeze right now, so I don't really feel like breathing it. And some goggles, glasses, something along those lines. We got ourselves a map gas torch, a piece of wood to push some of the lead out, and then a really nice stiff bristle brush to be able to get down and dig into that seam. I am going to place a board of wood just down on the ground, or sheet, of wood just to collect a bunch of that lead so that it's not going into the gravel here. And then we're going to heat it up, push the lead out. Some pants might not be a bad idea either. That's kind of why I wasn't originally going to do this today, in case some flings on you, because you are just kind of pushing it out of there. It can drop or fly anywhere, but yeah, just be kind of aware. Long sleeves wouldn't be a terrible idea either, but I'm here, I'm motivated, we're getting this done. There you go. We do the same thing on the A-pillar as well. It's just a small little section. And then we got a stitch weld here, a stitch weld in here, and on this one it looks like 2 spot welds there and there. You're just going to drill them out, cut the stitch welds. Front just has a little stitch weld, and you got to kind of get up and underneath it to be able to lift up the corner, and then it comes off basically the same way. Not bad for an afternoon, less than a whole afternoon. Had a buddy from out of town come by and visit, so we weren't necessarily working too hard around here today. But I got something pretty solid accomplished. We're back for day 2 on the Project Zero roof removal here. Just about ready to come off. As I mentioned yesterday, a couple stitch welds here. There is actually 3 spot welds. I had found one on either side, kind of buried under a bit of the stitch weld that they do there. And then we got the stitch weld here, and then this thing should come right off. Some of you might be wondering, why am I removing the roof skin on a never built Foxbody? What's the reason behind that? Well, these were in factories. Well, this one in particular, the carpet factory, and when they put it on a rack, it got all dinged up. I mentioned it, I believe, in a previous video, but if you haven't seen that video, this came from a carpet factory in Stratford, Ontario, as a test fit car. And I believe it was Collins and Aikman. Thank you to Bill Butler. Had a phone call with him yesterday for about 20 minutes, and he was actually familiar with the company that made the factory that would have used this car back in the day. So that was really cool. The cars typically in those factories wouldn't have fit on a rack, so they would have just cut the roofs right off at the A-pillar, B-pillar, C-pillar, make them fit. These were shallow enough that they did fit. However, I'll try and get a little closer here, but you can see it's got a big groove here. There's a crease there. This is all pushed down, and on that back corner. Yes, it could be fixed, but in talking to one of my good friends who's been a body guy for many years, he said he could go through, use a unispotter, pull most of this out, but by the time you're done, you're going to have a thin layer of fill over the whole thing. That's just part of it. There's no way to get around that. So you're going to have that layer of fill, skim coat, whatever it might be, but it's going to be there. And considering I had the donor car with the dent-free, rust-free, really nice roof skin, it actually makes more sense to do that. And then your only spots you're doing the body work or having fill is along those seams there. So that's the approach we're going with. This is work that I could do with the roof skin, where I would have to have him do most of the repair on the roof skin. I don't have a unispotter. He's got the experience with that. But you'd probably be a day and a half to get that done. And I'm going to be very similar with replacing the roof skin. And then it's all original sheet metal still. Well, OEM sheet metal, because they don't make replacement roof skins. And then it'll be rust free, dent free, and we can carry on. Unfortunately, it's not original to the car, but the floor section was already mucked up, the rear frame rail, so we're kind of past that part at least. But I think it's well worth the effort. And then I'm starting with something really nice and clean, like the rest of the car. So here we go. I'm gonna go ahead, cut these spot welds off, get this thing released. By spot welds, I definitely meant stitch welds. I'm going to go ahead and do this front one. And I had mentioned that I was speaking with Bill Butler a little earlier there regarding the carpet factory. He is actually, if you guys didn't know, the coordinator and originator of Motor City Foxfest. So pretty cool to speak with a guy like that who's got that much history. If you guys haven't, go check out Castle Customs and Infamous Project. Rolling in my 5.0 podcast. There was a really good podcast with Bill back in March, and there's a ton of really cool Ford Motor Company, Ford Motorsport type history in that one there. Oh, there we are. Roof skin is released here. This one's actually more stuck in the middle a little bit by the adhesive or foam stripping in the center there. But it is letting go. Just needs a little persuasion. Got maybe a little extra spot weld holding still here or there. Like that one. There's the odd time where I run into it on this where there's double spot welds. They're almost overlapping. You'll see the dimple for the first one, you'll grind it out. Then when you've actually cut the spot weld and you're trying to separate it, you'll actually see where the other one has just held it together. Just part of the process. There we go. one Foxbody roof skin removed. Gonna go through, clean up all this sandblasting media in all these channels, clean up this edge here. It's actually not looking too bad from the overlap there. Just a little clean up with the die grinder and knock down some of these spot welds so they're nice and smooth again. And then we'll go through and test fit the replacement roof skin. Try and get this thing glued back on today. Okay, well, it's many hours later now, and I went a lot further than I thought I was gonna go. There was kind of surface rust on all of the roof support ribs from probably sandblasting media holding moisture in there, and ended up sanding it down, wire wheeling it all, flap discs, bunch of different tools, then put some POR rust remover. It's like 15 bucks. You can get it all over the place. Threw that on there. Rinse it off with water, actually, which seems counterproductive, but rinse it off with water, blew it all out real well. Got some brake clean on there because that evaporates and kind of displaces water as well. I've masked off the edges here where all the spot welds are going to go. I'm going to put weld through primer on that tomorrow, but for now, just so we don't get any dew or moisture that's going to develop on that overnight. Unfortunately, I can't park it inside tonight. There's too much going on in the shop. So I'm going to go through, hit that the remainder with some primer, keep it from getting any kind of surface rust or anything on it there. Get it sealed up and call it quits for the night. We'll go at it again tomorrow, and then hopefully get that roof skin dropped on and get some spot welds dropped in. It's 2 days later. There's a roof skin on the car. Not fully attached yet. In the middle of spot welding that down. I went ahead yesterday and actually coated all that primer that I had done the night before in some white paint, just so we were all sealed up on the roof ribs and supports inside. And then today went through, cleaned up all the edges on the roof skin, top and bottom, degreased it all, made sure I wasn't going to have any contamination with the welds. And then well, you can see across the front, part way through here, get all these vice grips set up, clamp it real well, knock it down with a body hammer to get it nice and flat against that pinch seam there, and then drop in some welds. Gone ahead and done all the back here. I test fitted this a couple times and actually bolted doors on. This is the first time the car's ever had a driver's door attached, but went ahead and did that. Made sure that we're going to have proper clearance with this roof and the top edge of the door when the trim goes on there. Try and make it nice and even on both sides. There's not really a whole lot of movement there, other than basically just lifting or lowering the roof skin a little bit. Since there's some variation, it might not sit 100% where the other one was, stamping variances, things like that. But we got ahead, got all the rear spot welded in, working away on the front, and then got to go all the way down the sides. It's a time-consuming process just because I want it to look right. I want it to fit nice and tight. If you look in here, you can see how there's kind of a gap between the two pieces. So that's why you're going through with all the vice grips, and if I actually have it spanned out over a wider area, then that sheet metal is going to be sitting where it needs to rather than doing a couple at a time. You may actually get some wrinkles or tension on the metal, as opposed to going through and just having it spread out over a 6 or 8 inch area. It's going to lay down a lot nicer there. So I'm going to keep on going with this, get this spot welded in a bunch tonight. Not sure if I'm going to get it finished up. Might be coming back tomorrow, but got myself this nice canopy set up today. Kind of knock down a bit of the sun and make it a little nicer for working in. It's been hot this week. It's odd for Canada to be like 105, 107. And we get a lot of humidity, but I love the heat, so I'm gonna keep on working at this. This is the weather that you can finally get your projects done. The wintertime, it's really hard to keep things going, especially if you don't have a good working area, so take advantage of it. I'm gonna push through and running out of time because this thing's got to be on a trailer in 5 days. Yeah, there's still lots left to do. Got that front edge all finished up. Work away on doing the sides here, a little bit longer. Try and get as far as I can tonight here. There's just a preliminary look at the fronts before they get all ground down. It is what it is. That's how you gotta work when you're doing panel replacement on something that's already been used and you gotta drill the spot welds out. A lot easier if you're dealing with fresh metal and actually using a spot welder, but whatever, grind it down, smooth it out. There will be primer, paint, and the windshield over top, so you'll never even see it. But you guys will get to see how it looks like when I actually get it to the show, to see how far along I get it as far as getting that cleaned up. Gonna go through, do a little more of the spot welds on the side here, and I'll catch up with you guys in a bit. Well, stubbornness prevailed, and the roof is all welded in. There's some times where it's a benefit to be stubborn and just keep on going and get something done. I'm sure I'm gonna feel it in the morning, tired, hungry, but making things happen, running out of time, so you gotta do what you gotta do. Foxbody Friday nights. I know Infamous and Castle Customs are going hard on the Shipbox Fox right now, trying to get that all back together as well. Get it to the show. Hopefully we can all get together Thursday night if everybody makes it on time and without troubles. Luckily this isn't going to be a big deal because it's just going to be trailered, but definitely want to try and get it done on time so we can leave on time on Thursday. So I got all my spot welds finished up here. I'm going to go through, grind them all down tomorrow, smooth it all out, and then get some primer on here, keep it from getting any surface rust. And then I'm actually going to be, as I previously mentioned, painting the whole interior solid white. So I'll probably go in and just put some color on these just to seal them up so that we don't have any problems with corrosion or rust in the future, because primer only seals things up so much. So I'm going to call it a night, get all my mess cleaned up here, and I'll see you guys again tomorrow. We are back for another evening working away on this. Definitely don't regret putting in those extra hours last night, because this morning woke up with a migraine. Unfortunately, I do suffer from chronic migraines, and it was kind of weird because it was super sunny. A lot of it's weather related, so I thought it was kind of odd. Got out here, been spending the last 3-4 hours grinding all these welds down. Went through with the big grinder, got those done. This is all done with the big grinder and smooth, as well as this side too. Turned out pretty well. I'm sure the body guys will be able to critique, but well, I'm just a guy doing it myself at home. Well, not even at home. I'm doing it in a parking lot right now, so doing what I can. Just showing you guys again, if I can do it, you can do it. But I got out here working away, and well, it looks like it's gonna rain, so I guess that would be why I had that headache and migraine this morning. So gonna try and get what I've got cleaned up, all sealed up with some primer so it's not exposed metal here. See if I can get some more of the front ground down and sealed up. Unfortunately, I had to take the canopy down because it's not mine, and they don't know how much rain we're gonna get, so they didn't want it to get wrecked in a rainstorm. Fair enough. I've gone through and just feathered these edges with some 220 on my DA. I'm gonna do a bit of the roof with some 400 just to clean it up, and then when I hit it with some primer, it's gonna bond well to the surrounding surfaces, not just the bare metal. And then I will eventually be going over this and sealing it up with some white paint when I paint the interior. Hopefully tomorrow or the next day, as long as we don't get too much rain. Guess we'll see. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and try and get this sealed up so that it does not get damaged, having moisture on that nice, fresh, clean, open metal. Okay, so it's Monday, and this has to be on a trailer on Wednesday to leave for Motor City Foxfest. I got all the grinding done, spent a couple more hours on it last night and got things smoothed out, and then this morning went through and I've just kind of sanded the edges and feathered everything and kind of cleaned it up the best I could in preparation for primer. And then I've still got to go ahead, and I'm sure I've mentioned it multiple times, but I want to paint the whole inside of this nice fresh white again. So I got to get a hustle on here, and you guys will see more of that next time. So thank you very much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed a roof skin swap in a parking lot. Hopefully it was informative or at least entertaining, and I will see you guys, well, by the time you see this, I will have already seen you at Foxfest.